On live now. I won't be available. Welcome, friends. Here we are now live once again for the third day of our live stream campaign on LinkedIn. Rise Up and Lead, a Catholic call to action. It's an honor. It's an honor to come to you through this medium. For those of you who are already joining us and those who will maybe watch the recorded video later on, thank you for joining us and thank you for your attention throughout this week. This is the third day of our live stream series, and we've been doing this campaign to create awareness for the need for lay Catholic leadership in civil society. On each day of the live stream, I plan on sharing a special video with you. It's always a video from someone who is a friend to the apostolate, someone who is an advocate, somebody who believes in the vision of TLI. And we started, of course, on day one, on Monday, with our beloved founder, Bishop Olmsted. And yesterday, we had a video from Archbishop Gomez, the Archbishop of Los Angeles, who also is an advocate for Tepeyac leadership and the work that we do. And today, I have another friend, and perhaps some of you will recognize him as I play this video from him. When you make a shift from a Christendom age to an apostolic age, the role of the laity becomes ever more important because the church doesn't have the sort of societal prestige that it might have otherwise had. And so as a result, the official organs of the church, bishops' conferences, and even priests who are engaged in civil society are less listened to and less heeded, but to have vibrant, competent, excellently prepared professionals who are also deep believers
in the professional world, speaking into the culture. That's the dream of the church for this new apostolic age. That's why this is the hour of the laity.
And that, of course, was Monsignor James Shea. If you don't know Monsignor Shea, which means that you really got to get to know the Catholic Church in the United States a little bit. Well, he is a person in leading this terrific, incredible house of learning, which is the University of Mary in Bismarck, North Dakota. And Monsignor Shea, is admired throughout the country for his leadership, for his vision, and the top-notch education that the university is providing, a faithful Catholic, high level academic experience for those who attend the University of Mary, which, by the way, it's a partner organization of Tepeyac Leadership. We have a special relationship with the University of Mary, and that is because they do commend us for the work that we do forming leaders. Those who go through our TLI program, complete it, and get a certificate of completion from our TLI program, they can get 3 credits towards one of their master's programs. I think it's the MBA with a concentration on leadership that they offer. And so people that went through the TLI program, the Tepeyac leaders, can go on to get that advanced degree through the University of Mary, through that partnership that we have. They always encourage their alumni to experience our leadership development program. And we always send our students and our graduates, the Tepeyac leaders, to the University of Mary if they're looking to advance their education further, maybe with a master's degree. So we have that special relationship. And you heard Monsignor Shea talk about the importance of the laity. We have been talking about this over the past few days, the importance of lay Catholic leaders in civil society, because as Monsignor Shea put it, precisely because of their state in life, our beloved Pope, cardinals, bishops, deacons, well, the deacons live in this hybrid world, right? They're also in the realm of the laity. But you understand, the clergy cannot really, not really, insert themselves into the secular institutions of society, not in the same fashion that we can, because the secular world is our turf. The secular world is our mission territory. For us, for the laity, for you doctors, engineers, lawyers, accountants, teachers, business people, small business owners, or CEOs at a major corporation, it doesn't really matter. Where you sit, where you do your professional activities day to day, that is your altar, as I put it yesterday. That is the place where you sanctify yourself while sanctifying the world around us. And that is the place that God has put in front of you, has given you, so that you would infuse it with the values of the gospel. And only you can do it. You might be the only gospel that your co-workers ever have an opportunity to read through your own life and through your witness and through your lay, faithful and virtuous lay Catholic leadership. That's what this whole conversation is about. This week is about creating awareness for the urgent need for lay Catholic leaders in civil society and recruiting financial supporters for the mission of Tepeyac leadership. So before we go into our special our special guest for today, before I introduce him to you, I want to ask you to click on that link that you see above the live stream. If you haven't done it yet, if you have not become a financial supporter for Tepeyac leadership, I want to invite you to join the TLI family in yet another way. You already are part of the family. You pray for us. Maybe you volunteer through our activities in different capacities, right? You know what we do. You follow our newsletter. You are in the know about the progress that our apostolate has made, and you are rooting for us. Well, I want to ask you today to make an investment, a financial investment in the apostolate. This investment can be made really in 2 fashions: through our experience, through the people that have supported our apostolate in the past. We understand some people prefer and are able to. The Lord has blessed them in such a way. The Lord has blessed them really tremendously in such a way that they are able to write a major gift to a cause that they care about. And we are asking you to consider making a space in your heart for this cause, the cause of investing in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for the world. And make a major gift today if you can help our apostolate that way. The second way, because not everybody can write a big check, not everybody can make a major gift, which is a tremendous injection of, I would say, capital in order to move forward with confidence and implement all of the wonderful plans that we have for the apostolate, right? But the second way is for those of you who maybe can make a monthly commitment that would be the equivalent of maybe giving up a cup of coffee once a month, right? Or maybe canceling a subscription to something that maybe you're not even using, right? Maybe you can make a monthly financial support commitment of $100, maybe $50. For some people, it might be $40. Some people can do $20, even $10 a month. Friends, every dollar helps. And if we're standing here letting you know that $10 a month can go a long way when we can get many of our friends to commit to that level or even a higher level, is because it makes a difference. And if we're standing here, it's because we need to stand here to let you know that we need you to participate and invest in this apostolate. So I want to ask you to consider that as we welcome our guest for the day, and I let him into the room. Andrew Hendershot is one of our newest, well, soon to be. He has just completed the Tepeyac Leadership Initiative program for the 2025 cohort, and he will be graduating. He has completed all his sessions. He went to the retreat. We spent some time together in Mexico City this past month, and he's going to be graduating actually this Saturday. It's going to be the graduation ceremony in which he will be reading out loud his leadership commitment. You will learn about the leadership commitment. In the TLI program, the leadership commitment is this very concrete, individual, unique statement that each graduate reads out loud, and it's something that they present in front of their peers on graduation night as a result of the experience. It's supposed to be a gift to God, a thank you, a way to say thank you for the experience of TLI. And Andrew will be among others who will be presenting that this weekend, Saturday. Andrew, welcome to the live stream. Thank you for being with me.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Andrew, we had a great time in Mexico City. I remember having a chance to talk with you more than once, and I think I saw you enjoying yourself through the different activities of the retreat, the talks, the meals, which I think were, I mean, I'm biased, but you tell me, I think the food in Mexico City was delicious. And of course, those very special, very touching moments when we got to celebrate Mass together, to spend 1 hour in front of our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament. And those were definitely key moments for me during the retreat, where I felt very close to God, and where I'm always listening and attentive to what the Lord is trying to tell me. Tell me a little bit about what it was for you during the retreat last month when you were with me in Mexico City. What did you experience, Andrew?
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I mean, the retreat was phenomenal. It was my first time in Mexico City. So being able to see Our Lady Guadalupe and her shrine there was just truly life-changing. And being able to be there with so many other Catholic leaders, people who are really trying to live out their faith in their profession, it was really a gift. And then being able to go through the retreat, having the leadership and different aspects that were given to us throughout all day on Saturday, and taking that to prayer, truly unified, right? Our profession with our faith. And so really, yeah, life-changing.
Andrew, you came to TLI, I forget, very possibly it was me who recruited you for the program. I wear a lot of hats, and I'm also a recruiter for the program. But what was your expectation as you were going into the TLI program? Why did you decide to join this program? And what did you encounter as you experienced it, now that you have completed the program?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was looking for a lot of ways to integrate my Catholic faith with my profession. I was looking for ways to develop as a leader, especially being, a bit younger, mid-20s. I was really looking for a way to connect with other Catholics especially around the world, to understand what the church was doing in all these places. So that was a big motivator, and that was a huge part of why TLI was so important to me. I also had a few friends who were mentors for TLI, and they just shared with me the program and the development that went into this program. And I started to understand, like, this is one of the greatest programs out there for Catholic leaders, especially for young people who want to develop into some serious Catholic leaders in their profession.
Andrew, for a little background, share with the audience what you do professionally, what your professional space is.
Yes, absolutely. So I do business intelligence, and I also do some venture capital with a Catholic perspective. So a lot of numbers throughout the day, trying to build businesses using Catholic social teaching as our North Star. So that's really what we try to do day in, day out. And I love what I do. It's a true gift.
You know, Andrew, I speak with a lot of people every day, Catholics from all over the world, trying to help them understand this notion of Catholic leadership, lay Catholic leadership for civil society. And I know you get it now, and you understand it well. But for many Catholics, it's surprising, but it's a foreign notion. You know, when they think of Catholic leadership, lay Catholic leadership, they think automatically by default, they think of involvement at the parish or at the diocese, involvement within the faith community, but they don't necessarily see an avenue for lay Catholic leadership in their own professional lives. And so I had to really unfold this concept for several people all the time, and they ask me specifically about their career. So how does this apply to education, to healthcare? Have you been able to identify how lay Catholic leadership can be lived out or is lived out in your own professional space?
Yes, absolutely. So I think number one, it starts off with understanding Catholic social teaching. And that's one thing the program does really well. Every week we have reading and we can go through it, and it specializes on different industries, whether it's media, finance, government. And it really shows us, it gives us the path on how to integrate that, and really how to push the boundaries. So for me, going through the business ones and the ones on finance, it showed me that there can be a true alignment with both our profession, right, and our Catholic faith to ultimately become a saint, right? Like that's all of our journey, and praise be to God for his gift, for his graces that he gives us. But definitely, like, understanding it intellectually is a huge part to developing that virtue, right? That habit of virtue every day when we go to work, we can offer it up to our Lord, we can offer it up, and hopefully, right, little by little, 1%, we can both change ourselves and change our office, our firm, our company, even our legislation, right? So it's a very important part, and I think there's a huge vacuum. Catholic leaders really can step into this, and people are desiring of it.
I love your enthusiasm for it, and this is what we see every year with the graduates of the program. Um, I always say that there's really two ways to live this out. The first one, Andrew, is the one that most people, by instinct, Catholics already identify this and they understand. The first one is your personal witness at work. And I think most Catholics get this. Yes, people should know that I'm a Christian simply, but not even by saying any words, but by the way I carry myself. I conduct myself as a professional, as a human being at work, right? I think you get that. You absolutely project that. The second way is the one where we need to spend a little more time helping people see. And this is by seeking to be attentive to opportunities for advancement in your career, leadership opportunities, to actually aspire to ascend professionally. And this is where people get a little confused because say, what do you mean? I think you're talking about ambition, and I thought ambition was bad, and people say, but wait a minute, I'm supposed to be humble. How can I be ambitious and humble? And I think it's just a misconception, because if our hearts are in the right place and we're doing everything to simply to give God all the glory, to be mirrors of his glory, of his greatness in our lives, right? Through our lives, I think we should absolutely advance to leadership positions. Has the program allowed you to discern ways in which down the road, or maybe even in the near term, you can seize opportunities such as those? Have you thought about that?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, there's it's so important to be able to identify a practical way to lead, whether it's short term or long term. So for me, right, board membership is something that I found kind of a renewal in the program and how we want to go about leading that. So I think in order to renew the culture, right, you really have to take a leadership position, and it's going to look different for a lot of different people. But having that board seat, right, or something similar, whether it's city council, you're really starting to change the culture from the top down. But you're inviting people, really, you're inviting them to really transform themselves, transform the culture, transform the community into something greater. And right, that personal witness is always fantastic, like you mentioned, but then adding another layer and saying, okay, I'm going to be a public witness, publicly lifting up our Lord into these places, into government, into media, and saying, okay, how can we share this then and help others come on this journey with us? So I think it's incredibly important, and to be able to have some program to build on, and to put some goals into, short-term, long-term goals, is fantastic. And then I would add, having a mentor as part of the program is enormously helpful, because people are all over the world. You're on a large call once a week, but having a mentor there who knows the program, who knows you, and can kind of connect the dots to say, you can do more, right? Or yeah, go for it, you can do that. It's really a huge part of that program as well, to really make it more practical for you.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Andrew, because sometimes I forget some of the elements of the program. We've just been doing it for long now, but the mentorship component is one of the aspects of the TLI program that participants value the most. It's up there with the top, I would say, three value-added elements of the program. So walk us through a little bit what it's like having a mentor in the program. So you are part of the TLI program, comprised of 18 sessions, 3-hour sessions, one night a week for 5 months. You have the retreat. But in addition to that, every participant is assigned a mentor on a one-on-one basis who meets with you, men with men and ladies with ladies, right? So you were assigned a mentor early on the program. Tell us about your experience with that. How often did you meet? What did your conversations consist of? Walk us through that.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I had really just such a gift with my mentor. We were able to meet every other week, and that was a really great cadence for us. I was able to share kind of updates throughout my career and life and other things like that, and he was able to provide feedback that I could work on for the next 2 weeks. And so that was kind of a great cadence for us. And most of our calls would be about an hour. Sometimes there were a few that were a bit longer, some that were a bit shorter. But all in all, we'd start with a prayer, and then I would kind of just share kind of a couple of bullet points of items that I'd love to discuss, and we'd kind of just go through them one by one and say, okay, what is our Lord kind of calling me to do here? Maybe it's a no, maybe it's a yes, but then really then taking action and saying, okay, if we think this is the right thing to do, and having talked about it with the right people, then go boldly and do that, and be that public witness. And then having the feedback in 2 weeks or in 4 weeks, and saying, okay, what could have gone better? How can we improve? What can we learn from it? So having that relationship at a very deep level, right? It's not like a supervisor at work who just wants to know if your job done or not, or maybe it's not just a spiritual director or someone like that who really looks a lot to your spiritual side, but someone who's able to connect a little bit of both. I found to be incredibly helpful.
It's so good to hear you talk about this, because these mentors, they are volunteers, Andrew. All 80 of them, approximately, that we have every spring, they're volunteers, seasoned, busy professionals who are volunteering their time for you, because they understand the vision, they understand the importance of investing in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society. And we ask them, the concrete commitment that we ask them for, what they commit to, is 2 calls per month. And we tell them this have to be at least 20, 25-minute calls by Zoom, by phone. So if you tell me that you're meeting every other week and your calls might go as long as an hour, that tells me that they're enjoying themselves, that you're enjoying yourself, that something even more beautiful is developing, a friendship. This is what we very often see. that even after the program, when their commitment ends, the relationship remains because a friendship has developed. And the mentors report to us that they find as much satisfaction in the experience as the mentees do. So in parting, Andrew, I'm going to let you go soon, but I just want you to talk to me a little bit about the following. I know you're an educated man. You're a person who reads the news, and you know what's happening in the world. We know what's happening in the Middle East, in Europe, the economy. As a person in the area of finance, you understand everything that's happening in the world because it affects finance. We're concerned. We're concerned about the state of the world. Help me make that connection, because a lot of people that are watching maybe this live stream, they're worried, they're concerned, they're anxious about what's happening, about the state of the culture, about the poor state of morality and ethics in business and every other field, perhaps. And they would like to see something happen. And we say we're not a magic pill that will solve all the problems, but we believe that we're important piece to the equation of making this a better world, investing in leadership. Can you help me connect those two things?
Yeah, absolutely. Good men make good times. And it's so important that we are building great Catholic leaders and putting them into every aspect of our society, of the world. And yes, it won't be an overnight fix, but I think we've had a couple hundred now go through the program, and to have those people now around the world making a little difference every day will add up incredibly fast. And right, we all want exponential growth. And if you're having exponential growth with one person, imagine if there's hundreds, right, or someday thousands of these leaders. And especially if they stay connected with each other and can support each other, that is incredible. That will be a huge difference, right, in holding back the wave of some of these issues that are coming up with our modern society. Like, this truly could be the beginning of renewing that culture, of renewing our governments, renewing our private sector, and it will trickle down and hopefully benefit everybody.
I love the term you use because exponential growth is precisely our Lord Jesus Christ's area of expertise. And I know He can do it. We can be the instruments and He can do it. We put in the work, we put in the prayer, He puts in the grace, and the fruits are all His. Andrew Hendershot, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christopher.
And friends, so we are going to now continue the conversation that we've been having throughout these days about just what is the vision behind this apostolate that we started 8 years ago in Phoenix. And so we have gone through some of these ideas, right? Just what is leadership? What is the authentic character of the lay vocation? And yesterday we went through just what it means to be a lay Catholic leader in all of these areas of civil society. I mentioned these 6 yesterday. I'm going to go over them a little bit today because if we think about the area of healthcare and all of the transgressions against the dignity of the human person, just in the area of healthcare, friends, just in that field, you can find that the world is crying out for authentic lay Catholic leadership, just in the area of healthcare. We need more doctors who are not afraid to stand up for those who they actually made a vote, right? They made an oath when they became physicians. They made an oath that it was an oath to protect lives. But the culture today is putting tremendous pressure on the medical personnel, on not just doctors, physicians, but nurses, to do things that they know that go against this oath and the vocation that they have to defend the dignity of the human person, to protect the human person, to save lives ultimately. So we need more courageous, well-formed, faithful, and committed Catholics who enter the arena of healthcare, but not only enter the arena of healthcare, but seek those opportunities for leadership within the area of healthcare. I'm going to tell you a story of a friend who I actually met at a retreat in San Francisco. We met at a retreat. It was a silent retreat. We weren't able to talk throughout most of the weekend, so we would just see each other passing through the halls and smile at each other. We were allowed to do that way, maybe, right? We would have meals together, even sat by each other, but we're not allowed to speak because it was a silent retreat. Towards the end of the retreat, on the last day of the retreat, after Mass, the retreat was over, and we were finally, while we were waiting for our rides or our taxi cab to the airport, we were able to speak a little bit, and we all got to chat a little bit. So I made a friend, and this friend is actually someone who heads a division at the hospital and slash university. So he teaches young doctors that enter the specialty, his specialty. I'm not going to give it all away because I don't want to necessarily tell you who he is, but he heads this division at a hospital and slash university. And so these young doctors are coming through under him to learn the trade, right? To learn the specialty. And so when I met him, he was telling me about how frustrated and fed up, really, he was with the way that these ideologies had permeated the medical field, and particularly with the horrendous things that were being done to children. And he said, well, what really sickens me more is that there is no science behind this, and people just are following trends blindly, and we're supposed to be scientists, right? So he was very frustrated, and he said, you know what? And I think I have almost made up my mind, Christopher. I'm just going to quit medicine, and I think I'm going to go teach at a high school. I mean, he's already an accomplished physician and more than that, right? But when he said that, I told him, no way, you cannot quit. Because imagine if things are this bad, how much worse they can get when you, the voice of Christ in that space, decides to leave that arena. You understand, friends? Do you understand what it means to be a lay Catholic leader in civil society? Yesterday, we talked about the area of education in the United States. There's such a thing as public education districts, which are governed by ordinary citizens who run for office in their local public school district and then sit at a public school district board. And they make decisions. And I asked you yesterday during the live stream, the very first time when one of these ideology infested so-called curriculums made their way through one of these public school districts, you know what I'm talking about, right? This horrendous pollution that some public school districts are putting in the minds of our children. When the very first of these came up for a vote in a public school district, the question was, where were the Catholics? Where were the Catholics? They were either not at the table, they were not well formed, or they were not courageous enough to speak up. But sadly, statistically, we know that they were at the table because today, lay Catholics already sit at every table where decisions are made. Catholics are present in every sphere of power, from the lowest to the highest, around the globe, around the world. This is a reality. We're already there. What we don't have is enough faithful and committed, well-formed Catholics willing to stand up courageously to defend truth, to defend the dignity of the human person in every arena, in every table where decisions are made. We can talk also about the area of business. We just discussed a little bit with Andrew Hendershot about how business can and should be a force for good. This is the teachings of the church. This is Catholic social doctrine. Business must be, should be, can be a force for good. You know, and friends, if you didn't know it throughout the centuries, when the church was expanding, when the church was building the great cathedrals, whatever it was, our most recently our hospitals and universities, who do you think were the people who invested in building the church, who put the resources so that we could advance and build the physical infrastructure of the church? It was it were the people of means in whatever community in Europe, Asia, America, Africa. It's always the people of means, and everybody helps. But the contributions that get the projects done are the contributions that come from those who have resources. And very often, this is the business community. Ask in your own diocese, archdiocese, around the United States. You know it because maybe you have been part of it. If there is or has been a capital campaign, who are the ones who come forward making a major gift to make this campaign a success. The business community. Business can and should be a force for good. We can talk about the field of media, and all we have to do is just turn on the television. Well, we don't do that anymore. Watch the news online and see how it's almost impossible today, especially with the coming of AI, to know what's truth. Who can we believe in? Who can we trust? We need more lay Catholic leaders ready to get in the arena of news media, of journalism, to get back to authentic journalism, which is what I used to. I used to be part of that several years ago in a former life, right? Today, I don't see journalism. What I see is agendas, competing agendas in all of the media outlets, no matter what platform, really, competing agendas. In the area of government, this country, the United States, used to have a president who said he was a Catholic. He still says he's no longer the president, but he says he's a Catholic. But you wouldn't know it by the way that he led and by the decisions that he'd make and the causes that he would advocate and the groups that he would abuse, really, bully. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it. And today we have another president who's certainly not a Catholic, has done some good things, and some things we're all trying to figure out exactly what he's doing as well. But the case is that in the area of government, there is a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity for us to engage. And the important thing is that if we're gonna do that, if we get involved in politics, before we put our Republican or Democrat or whatever party hat or jersey we want to put on, and this is just the reality in the United States, I want to invite you to widen your horizons and your vision, and not allow it to be confined to the reality of the United States, because in reality, this is one country. The faith is much more than the United States. As much as I love this country, my country, right? We should be universal, like the church, in our vision. So whether you are in the United States or Africa or Asia or Europe, we must be Catholic before we're anything else. And if that is the case, if we are Catholic, if we certainly have the Catholic identity placed at the center of our being, then we can choose to be whatever else we can be, and that will be ordered accordingly, because we're building around that very strong foundation of being children of God. So government is another arena where we must enter, not just to run for office, although that is absolutely something we should consider. And that doesn't mean running for the office of President of the United States. Consider local office, consider serving in your public school district, your local municipality, your county. There are so many avenues for you to get involved in politics. And that's not just running. It's not limited to running. You can help somebody else's campaign. You can get involved in someone's campaign. You can get involved in several different ways, advocating for those causes that we should, as Catholic, be advocating for. And the area of philanthropy, we mention it because as lay Catholic leaders in civil society, everybody must have a good grasp of philanthropy, of what philanthropy is. Because no matter what cause you feel passionate about, funding is what you're going to need to learn and put into action. Funding is what gets things done. Absolutely, we must pray as if everything depended on God, but we must work as if everything depended on us. There's a reason, friends. People don't understand this. There's a reason why you would notice in the Gospels that every time that Jesus was going to perform a miracle, he would ask, "Do you believe I can do this? Do you believe I can do this?" Our Lord will always expect us to take one or two steps forward. He would always ask for something of us as a show of our faith. And that in our world, in our reality, is the work that we can put in towards a good object or purpose or cause. And he puts in the grace, and the fruit is all his, absolutely, 100%. Yesterday, I told you a little bit about board service. Today, we talk with Andrew Hendershot about board service. Board service truly is where leadership happens, friends. When we published a couple of years ago, Catholic Leadership for Civil Society is the name of our book. You can find it on Amazon. It's on paper copy, hard copy, ebook, audiobook. I think that we put it in all the platforms that we could possibly put it. We put it in Spanish and Portuguese now, all in Amazon. And that's only because it has become, for lack of a better term, our manifesto is really, our guiding document for the mission of Tepeyac leadership. And in it, you won't find original ideas. Maybe the way in which we have ordered them is original, right? But you will find really the vision of the church, the vision of the Second Vatican Council, explained and put into practice in very practical ways. That's really what our apostolate is all about: practical ways to live out the teachings of the church. So when we talk about board service, we're talking about real boards, boards of directors, boards of trustees, but we're also talking about any human institution, any human institution, a hospital, a business, a government office, whatever it might be, a school, a university, whatever it might be. Behind it, usually, is a group of people who come together on a regular basis to enact policies, to chart the direction of the organization. And that is what we call a board, regardless of what other name it might take. In reality, we call it a board for our purposes. We have broadened the definition. We are referring to a local parent-teacher association, homeowners association, all the way to the halls of Congress, all the way to that, or the United Nations. Every table where decisions are made. Those are the decisions that are transforming the culture. I want you to think about, for example, the American Psychiatric Association. And you know the things that are happening at the universities, in the medical field, the experiments that they're doing with children these days, with what's happening in the culture. I don't really need it's so prevalent. I don't really need to go into the detail. You know what's happening. Do you think the American Psychiatric Association might have had some influence on what has taken place over the past few years? I think so, friends. I think so. Think about the influence that Hollywood, that the media has over the culture. Do you know there is an academy, right, that gives an award once a year, and there are other influential tables where decisions are made in the area of entertainment. Do you think that that's an area that cannot be sanctified, purified? Do you think they're impossible to God? Because every professional career or activity that is not inherently immoral can be sanctified, and we must enter that arena if that's where our calling is, because we can infuse it with the values of the gospel, and we can recenter the culture around Christ. And that's what we mean when we say rebuilding a Christian civilization for the 21st century. Friends, do you think this is impossible? There was a time when the church, when believers, when Christians dominated the culture. We dominated the arts, whether it was paintings, where we didn't have the modern art, modern platforms that are available today, film and television and all of the digital modes of art. But in literature, in paintings, in sculptures, in plays, in the opera, right? In theater, whatever media platform for arts there was, we dominated it. Christendom dominated it. And Christ was at the center of every consideration. And the messages were messages that were Christ-centered, really, regardless of the story, right? And that was Christian. And that's something that took place. There was a place, there was a time, there was a civilization that, while it was never perfect, it kept God at the center of every consideration. And that's what we're striving for. But ultimately, friends, this is about realizing that we are all children of God, and we were made for holiness. That is who we are, and that is the purpose of our lives. So if we are inviting you to become a Catholic leader in civil society, we're inviting you to sanctify the world while sanctifying the world around you. Sanctify yourself while sanctifying the world around you. We're inviting you to transform society from within. That is the calling of the Second Vatican Council for the laity, that we insert ourselves into the secular fabric of society as to transform it from within. We can think about the things that are happening today in the culture. And, I think we all are aware of the two wars. I don't think those are the only two wars in the world right now, but probably the most prominent, unfortunately, tragically, wars around the world. And I think that if there was a way for the values of the gospel to be perhaps to have a little more influence in the decisions made by all parties in all circumstances, I think that perhaps we wouldn't be where we are now, right? I mean, things have cooled down just a little bit over the past few days, but this is still an area of tremendous concern to all of us, and starting with Pope Leo, who has called us, Pope Leo XIV has called us to pray for peace, and he's advocating for peace. And that's what we need to be doing as Catholics. We cannot be advocating for anything else. And that peace is not only referring to what's happening in the Middle East and in Ukraine and Europe, but friends, the UK is now considering allowing assisted suicide. This is something that is taking place now in Canada, and more in more places around the world. They're opening themselves up to this possibility of offering this false um, avenue of hope to the elderly or the sick or the weak, and this false compassion, because that's what it is, false compassion, with no other object really than removing somebody who's no longer deemed as useful, and now looked at as a problem, as something to be dealt with, as a burden. That's what it has come down to. Christian civilization, Christianity. That's where we are today, friends. That's where we are. But there are signs of hope. I think there are signs of hope. We're seeing them all around the world. There are multiple things happening around the world. The fact that our apostolate, wherever it goes, wherever we have gone, we are received with open arms. And whenever I've had the opportunity to sit down with somebody, make a presentation about Catholic leadership in civil society, I have not encountered anyone who has heard us unveil the vision, present the vision of our apostolate, who didn't respond with something like, where was this 10 years ago? How can I get involved? How can I help? And friends, that's my favorite question. How can I help? Because if you are watching this live stream, if you have been following Tepeyac leadership, if you understand the work that we're doing, if you think it's a good idea to be doing what we're doing, and you're wondering, how can I help? I want to tell you, click on the link that you see above the live stream and become a financial supporter today. Make an investment. Make an investment on the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society around the world, not just in the United States. And the United States is our first field of mission. The mission of TLI, if you go to our website, I'm going to pull it up and read our mission statement from the TLI website, you will see that our mission statement is very clear. Tepeyac Leadership, go to tliprogram.org, and when you get to the website, go right here, click right here where it says About, and I'm going to read to you our mission. Our mission is to deliver civic leadership development to lay Catholic professionals in the U.S. and beyond. So it's a global mission. It encompasses the world, but there's a reason why it doesn't just say in the world, in the U.S. and beyond. We started here. This is home. This is the headquarters of Tepeyac Leadership. We started in Phoenix, Arizona, and that's where our strongest or largest footprint is, in the southwestern United States. And from there, it radiates out all the way throughout the nation and then outside. and it really continues to extend all over the American continent, Europe, Africa, Asia. But the United States is definitely the first arena that we are investing in. So if you believe in this mission, I invite you to make an investment today. We have a vision. You can also encounter that in our website. With a spirit of charity, fidelity to the magisterium, and intellectual rigor, Tepeyac Leadership Initiative, that's our program, is a catalyst development experience which equips lay Catholic professionals to become virtuous leaders while supporting the mission of the church, influencing the culture, and serving the common good. And you know, this week I have already shown you two examples of what a Tepeyac leader is. Early on the week, Monday, we had Roxana Amaton, graduate from the very first generation of TLI, 2018. And today we were joined by Andrew Hendershot, who just completed the program a few weeks. I think last week was the last week of the program, the last session, and he's going to be graduating. He's going to go through the graduation ceremony on Saturday. And with his generation, the eighth generation of Tepeyac leaders, we now reach the 400 mark of Tepeyac leaders around the world, Our young, still very young. If you think about the age of the Catholic Church, we are certainly in our infancy. TLI, Tepeyac Leadership Incorporated, is in its infancy as an apostolate, as a Catholic apostolate. But the opportunity, the prospect for growth, the interest in the work that we're doing is tremendous. It's really incredible and humbling to see how much people want what we're doing. By the way, let me tell you about this dynamic. If you're here in the United States, you might not be aware, if you haven't had the opportunity, the blessing to maybe travel outside the United States much, you might not be aware of the influence that the United States has around the world. Everybody knows the United States has influence around the world, but also in the area of the Catholic faith, also in the faith, also in the Catholic Church. So what I mean is, we know the United States influences the world through the arts, through entertainment, through the media, through politics, through so many different ways, through commerce and business. We know that. Everybody gets that. But even within the church, within the Catholic Church, obviously Rome is the epicenter of the Catholic world. We know that. But friends, there's something unique about about the United States of America in the following sense. The entrepreneurial spirit of the United States. I'm not saying that it's not present elsewhere. I am originally from Peru. There are entrepreneurs, and there is a strong entrepreneurial spirit in Peru and in so many parts in the world. But the entrepreneurial spirit of the United States, I think that is such that the American mind believes that the only limits to what one can do truly are our imagination. And so you see this putting action in the area of business and technology and innovation here in the United States in every realm, in every field, right? Even today, with all the competition that we have in commerce and in business, China and whatever other places who might be maybe, competing with the United States in so many arenas. But still today, even if you ask around the world, they will say that it still feels like most innovations are starting here. Maybe they can then be perfected and even taken to the next level somewhere else. But the original ideas, the innovations, a lot of them are starting here, continue to start here, and have been starting here for a long time. For those of you who know history, I'm a lover of history, I'm a student of history, and I know that ideas have been starting here. Very important, influential ideas have been taking place here in the United States for a long time in such a way that maybe you don't see just anywhere. Well, this entrepreneurial spirit, friends, transferred is so prevalent and so strong in American culture. I can tell you this as somebody who grew up in Latin America but has lived here since the age of 15, and then I have traveled. I have traveled all over Latin America. I have been to most countries in the American continent. And then I have traveled a little bit farther than that. And I know that the entrepreneurial spirit in the United States It has really this unique energy and capacity for vision and execution. Very unique. And it's so prevalent and so strong that it even, I am convinced, it even transfers over to the faith community, to the faith arena. What do I mean? You know, if you live here in the United States, you know about all of the tremendously successful lay-led apostolates that are present in the United States. We know about them. We admire them. They're just incredible, right? I can think of Lifetime. I can think of Focus. I can think of the Napa Institute. I can think of young Catholic professionals. I can think of Legatus. I can think of all, and the list goes on and on and on. It's just incredible what's happening. We have the Catholic Medical Association, the St. Thomas More Society. We have, it just goes on. And that's just at the national level, because we have regional and local and diocesan lay-led apostolates and initiatives that are just on fire. Tepeyac leadership, I want to believe, is one of those lay-led apostolates that are on fire. Well, friends, this is no, I don't mean to brag or anything like that, but this is very unique of the United States. And I have confirmed it. I didn't know when I began traveling abroad and seeing with the thirst and hunger with which people were wanting to see what's taking place and taking root in the United States extend to these other places, because it's not present there. This energy, this entrepreneurial spirit in the apostolate that's present in the United States is not as prevalent, as strong and dynamic as it is in the United States, just anywhere around the world. I can tell you, because I have seen it with my own eyes, and I have heard my own friends tell us that they want to see what we're doing here go over to those different realities around the world. They want to see it extend there, because it is not present. There are wonderful things taking place in so many different countries where there are Catholics around the world. But I would say that the magnitude, the dimension, the energy, the level of investment in terms of capital and then real capital and human capital in entrepreneurial initiatives, apostolates, lay-led particularly, that you see in the United States, you don't just see anywhere. So it is important that we recognize this, because we have a responsibility. That comes with that blessing, comes with a responsibility. This country has been blessed tremendously, tremendously. The way in which the Lord has blessed the United States of America, it's beyond the wildest dreams of so many nations around the world. I can tell you this because I've seen those nations. I come from one of those nations. And we want to be grateful and responsible with what we have been given, so that we can share the blessing of being able to start something that brings about good to the world, to society, right? This is a true of so many different realities and in so many different dimensions. But right now, I am talking particularly about the apostolate, about lay-led apostolates. And the vision of Tepeyac leadership is that we can continue to grow this global network of Catholic leaders, lay, committed, well-formed, faithful Catholic leaders who are ready to influence society with the values of the gospel, ready to sit at the tables where decisions are made, right? We started here in Phoenix, Arizona, expanded in the Southwest, grew to the nation, and now the world, and we want to grow that network. We are doing an annual conference, right? The Hour of the Laity in Mexico City. Earlier, we heard Monsignor Shea from the University of Mary talk about the importance of the role of the laity and why this is the Hour of the Laity. That video, by the way, was from a few years back when we were launching the conference for the very first time in 2023. 2 years of successful conferences in Southern California at Christ Cathedral, at the Diocese of Orange, with the blessing of their bishop, Bishop Van, and the auxiliary bishop, Bishop Freire. We were able to host the conference there, and this year we take it to the Basilica of Guadalupe. We are taking our annual conference to the international arena. It's still meant to serve really exclusively the Anglo-speaking Catholic community. It's very much for the Catholics in the United States who speak English, who are invited to join us in Mexico City, right? But the vision is to also grow that platform and maybe at some point take it around the world to other Marian sanctuaries like Fatima, perhaps, right? I mean, we don't have we are blessed with a great number of Marian sites where we can go and visit with our mother, with our Heavenly Mother, with the Blessed Mother, and try to together grow in prayer, in spirit, in our interior life, and grow as leaders, grow professionally. That's what this is about, right? We have a vision of growing our global network of Catholic leaders. We have a vision of growing our local communities of Catholic leaders in whatever countries where we're expanding the most and recruiting the most and forming the most leaders, such as the UK or Uganda or Lebanon or Mexico, right? And we're building more relationships, more friendships, and partnerships in all of these places so that we can advance the mission. But we are here this week. We are doing this live stream series because in order to realize this vision, we count on God's grace, certainly. But God works through us. I think we all understand that, right? We must pray as if everything depended on God, but we must work as if everything depended on us. And one thing I have learned throughout these years, let me tell you, friends, this hasn't been easy, but the Lord has been with us, and Our Lady of Guadalupe has been with us from the beginning. And if there is something I have helped, I have learned throughout the years, is that if we put in the work, the Lord will bless it. If you put in the work, the Lord will bless it. I am convinced this doesn't fail. The ultimate end, the ultimate outcome might not always be what you were hoping for or what you were shooting for. Very often, God scratches our plan and shows us His better plan. That often happens too, right? But ultimately, the fruit is all His. It's all His. But we have to be faithful. We have to be faithful to the mission that He puts in front of us. That's all that we are ultimately capable to do. Be faithful. Because nothing that we own, nothing that we have, nothing that we can offer, it's even ours to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Our lives themselves were given to us as a gifts. Our gifts and talents, our strength, our health, my capacity to stand in front of you today to speak to you about this vision, none of it belongs to me. It's all the Lord's. The fruit from our apostolate is the Lord's. Our work, even the work and the sweat of our work, is the Lord's because He gives us the capacity to work. He gives us the capacity to sweat, right? So, what can we ultimately give the Lord if it's not only the sincerity of our effort, not even the effort, the sincerity of our effort? It's a truly honest, sincere effort. We truly want to do His will and be faithful to the mission that He has placed in front of us. So, I am coming to you today for the third day in a row to ask you to be faithful to the mission that God has placed in front of you. And I don't know what that mission might be. But if you're still discerning that mission, or if that mission can maybe unfold and take the form of multiple or take multiple avenues, and there's maybe more than one way in which you can manifest the mission that God has given you, I am asking you today to consider becoming a financial supporter of Tepeyac leadership. I am asking you today to make an investment in our apostolate, to make an investment of a one-time gift, if that's what you're able to do. At whatever level, every dollar helps. And certainly, if the Lord has blessed you in such a way that you can make a major gift, that will bless us as well and allow us to advance with confidence, to execute the vision and carry on the mission that God has given us. And if you're not able to do that, perhaps I believe that in this country, in the United States of America, anyone who wants is able to give at least at a small level. And I want to ask you to consider making that a monthly commitment because that helps us also advance with confidence, knowing that there will be a consistent revenue, monthly revenue that will help us pay the bills along the way, right? This definitely, everything we do definitely takes resources. And so if you think that maybe you can put $100 a month into this vision because you believe in it, if you can invest $50 a month or $20 a month or even $10 a month, every dollar helps. Every dollar helps. And it helps us take the mission to the next level. We're going to be with you 2 more days. We're going to come back tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, and we will continue to show and unveil for you what it is that we're planning to do, what we consider that the Lord has given us as a responsibility, as a mission. And all we're doing here is like what I'm asking you to do: be faithful to the mission that the Lord has given us. We're trying to be faithful. The Lord has given us a mission. I believe personally that the Lord has given me a mission to form the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society. I believe that is my mission, my personal mission. And Tepeyac leadership and the leadership of Tepeyac, the board of Tepeyac leadership, we are all invested in this mission of rebuilding Christendom, of building a Christian civilization for the 21st century by investing in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society. Together, we can continue transforming lives, building up the culture and the church by investing in the next generation of lay Catholic leaders for civil society. I'm going to invite you. I want to invite you to be part of that mission, friend. And you can do it today by clicking on the link that you see right about this live stream. And in case you don't do it today, we're going to be back tomorrow. And we hope to convince you tomorrow to join this adventure in Christ. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless you.